From Tianjin, China, where the skyline of this bustling port city now serves as the backdrop for one of the most significant geopolitical gatherings of the year. Here, three of the world's most powerful leaders, Chinese President Xi Jinping, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, were seen in quiet conversation ahead of the official opening ceremony of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO, summit. This moment, captured in a few minutes of carefully choreographed video, may appear routine, but in the world of international diplomacy, the body language, the informal exchanges, and the symbolism of such encounters often speak louder than any official communique. Tonight, we break down not just what happened in Tianjin, but why it matters for the global balance of power. Tianjin, a city of nearly 13 million people and one of China's most dynamic urban hubs, was chosen for this year's SCO summit, a decision that is as much political as logistical. Located on the Bohai Gulf, Tianjin is a symbol of China's industrial might, global trade connections, and aspirations to project itself as the heart of a new international order. The SCO itself has grown into a formidable bloc since its founding in 2001. What began as a regional forum between China, Russia, and Central Asian states has expanded to include India, Pakistan, and most recently, Iran. Together, its members represent more than 40% of the world's population and nearly a quarter of global GDP. This year's summit comes at a time of extraordinary turbulence. Russia's war in Ukraine grinds on with no clear resolution. India, balancing its historic ties to Moscow with growing partnerships in the West, is increasingly walking a diplomatic tightrope. And China, positioning itself as a counterweight to US-led alliances, is using the SCO to amplify its message that the world no longer revolves around Washington or Brussels. The footage from AFP TV shows the three leaders, Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and Narendra Modi, standing together, talking quietly before the opening ceremony. There were no podiums, no official press conferences, no prepared remarks. Instead, it was a rare glimpse into the choreography of great power politics. For China, the optics are clear. Xi Jinping is the host, greeting his counterparts against the grand setting of the summit. Russia, battered by sanctions and isolation in the West, gains legitimacy from standing shoulder to shoulder with China and India. And for India's Modi, the calculus is more complex. Being seen with Putin carries risks in Western capitals, but refusing the photo op would undercut India's influence within the SCO and its claim to being a voice of the global South. Over the past decade, Xi Jinping has consistently cast the SCO as a central pillar of his vision for a multipolar world. He has argued that Asia should no longer be seen as a playground for external powers, but as the engine of global growth and stability. Xi's message has been direct. We must strengthen our solidarity, deepen our cooperation, and ensure that the SCO becomes a force for peace and stability. In Tianjin, this vision was once again on display. By hosting Putin and Modi together, Xi signaled that China can convene leaders who, in other settings, might not so easily share a stage. For Russian President Vladimir Putin, appearances at international gatherings like the SCO are more than symbolic. They are a lifeline. Isolated from Western summits such as the G7 or the World Economic Forum, Putin uses the SCO to demonstrate that Russia is not alone, that it remains a key player in a world where many countries refuse to align themselves with the West. In his words, Russia values the SCO as a platform that upholds fairness, respect for sovereignty, and multipolarity. For Moscow, the Tianjin summit provides an opportunity to reinforce energy deals with China, discuss arms cooperation, and highlight its ongoing partnership with India. It also allows Putin to push back against Western narratives that Russia is diplomatically cornered. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's presence alongside Xi and Putin may seem straightforward, but it reflects one of the trickiest diplomatic balancing acts of our time. India is a member of the Quad, working closely with the United States, Japan, and Australia on security in the Indo-Pacific. At the same time, it remains heavily dependent on Russian military hardware and has not joined Western sanctions against Moscow. Speaking about India's role, Modi has often emphasized India believes in dialogue, diplomacy, and the need for inclusive global governance. At Tianjin, Modi's participation underlines India's determination to engage in multiple forums simultaneously, whether Western-led or non-Western. It is a strategy of diversification, ensuring that India's voice carries weight in every possible arena. The timing of the SCO summit could not be more consequential. In recent months, tensions between China and the United States have escalated, from disputes over technology and trade to military posturing in the South China Sea. Meanwhile, the war in Ukraine continues to strain global food and energy markets, with ripple effects from Europe to Africa to Asia. Against this backdrop, the SCO positions itself as an alternative, an organization that champions sovereignty over intervention, multipolarity over unipolar dominance, and economic cooperation over sanctions regimes. Critics, however, argue that the SCO's declarations often outpace its actual achievements. Unlike NATO or the European Union, the SCO lacks binding security guarantees or integrated institutions. Its members often have competing interests. India and Pakistan, for example, are locked in a bitter rivalry, while China and India have unresolved border disputes. But the Tianjin summit, and especially the imagery of Xi, Putin and Modi standing together, reinforces the idea that despite these contradictions, the SCO is a platform no major Asian power can afford to ignore. Observers of international politics know well that in diplomacy, the unscripted moments can be as important as the official speeches. The Tianjin images are case in point. For Xi, it projects China's ability to convene and lead. For Putin, it signals defiance against Western attempts to isolate him. And for Modi, it demonstrates India's ability to sit at every table, no matter how divided the world may be. Diplomacy, as one veteran Chinese analyst put it, is not only about what you say, but about who you are seen with and when. As the summit formally opens, key questions remain. Can the SCO evolve beyond symbolic gatherings into a truly effective organization? Will it deepen economic integration, or primarily serve as a political counterweight to Western institutions? And how will internal rivalries, such as those between India and China, affect its cohesion? What is clear is that the SCO is gaining visibility and credibility as a forum for alternative global governance. In an era defined by fragmentation, it offers a platform, however imperfect, for countries seeking to push back against the dominance of US-led structures. In Tianjin today, the meeting of Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin and Narendra Modi was more than just a photo opportunity. It was a carefully staged message to the world that these leaders, representing nearly 3 billion people, are determined to shape the global conversation on their own terms. As one diplomat watching the summit remarked, moments like these remind us that the center of gravity in world politics is shifting, not overnight, but unmistakably. From Tianjin, where the SCO summit is set to unfold, with both pomp and quiet intrigue, the images of three leaders talking informally may prove to be among the most telling moments of the year.